Welcome to Zane Facts channel, where we dive into the most intriguing and fascinating stories from history and science. Today, we're embarking on an epic journey through the age of exploration, a period that reshaped our world in ways you might not have imagined. Buckle up as we set sail with the daring explorers who braved unknown seas, uncovered new lands, and forever changed the course of history. Stay tuned, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more amazing content. Imagine a time when the world was vast and unknown, filled with uncharted territories and endless possibilities. The age of exploration, spanning from the early 1400s to the early 1600s, was a period of daring voyages and groundbreaking discoveries. Driven by the thirst for wealth, knowledge, and adventure, European explorers set sail across treacherous seas, forever changing the course of history. This era wasn't just about maps and routes, it was about uncovering the mysteries of our world and in the process laying the foundations for the modern age. The Portuguese pioneers. Portugal led the charge into the unknown. In 1415, they began their expeditions with Prince Henry the Navigator's school for explorers at the forefront. One of the first major breakthroughs came when Bartolomeu Dias rounded the Cape of Good Hope in 1488, proving that the Atlantic and Indian Oceans were connected. This paved the way for Vasco da Gama's monumental voyage to India in 1498, opening a direct sea route to Asia, which was previously dominated by overland routes controlled by Middle Eastern traders. Interesting fact 1. Vasco da Gama's journey to India took 2 years, and only 54 of his 170 crew members survived the trip back to Portugal. Interesting fact 2. The spice trade was so lucrative that 1 quintal or 100 kilograms of pepper could be bought in Asia for 6 cruzados and sold in Europe for 20 or more. Prince Henry the Navigator was not just a royal figurehead but a visionary who established a school for navigators at Sagres, Portugal. This institution brought together the best minds in navigation, cartography, and astronomy, significantly advancing maritime technology. It was here that the caravel, a ship designed for long voyages, was perfected, enabling Portuguese sailors to explore further and faster than ever before. Interesting fact 3. The caravel's design included lateen sails, which allowed it to sail closer to the wind, making it more maneuverable than other ships of its time. Interesting fact 4. Prince Henry's school also developed advanced navigational instruments like the astrolabe and the magnetic compass, which were crucial for open-sea navigation. The Spanish conquests. Spain, inspired by Portugal's successes, financed Christopher Columbus's ambitious plan to reach Asia by sailing westward. In 1492, Columbus stumbled upon the New World, opening the Americas to European exploration and colonization. This discovery was monumental, leading to Spain's rapid expansion into the Caribbean, Central, and South America. Interesting fact 1. Columbus's voyages brought many New World crops to Europe, including potatoes, tomatoes, and maize, which significantly altered European diets. Interesting fact 2. The Treaty of Tordesillas in 1494, brokered by the Pope, divided the New World between Spain and Portugal along a meridian 370 leagues west of the Cape Verde Islands. Following Columbus, Spanish explorers like Hernán Cortés and Francisco Pizarro embarked on expeditions that led to the conquest of the Aztec and Inca empires. These conquests brought vast amounts of wealth to Spain in the form of gold and silver, fueling European economies and driving further exploration. Interesting fact 3. Cortés's conquest of the Aztecs was aided significantly by his alliance with various indigenous groups who were enemies of the Aztecs. Interesting fact 4. Pizarro's relatively small force of around 180 men managed to capture the Inca Emperor Atahualpa, leading to the fall of the vast Inca Empire. The quest for spices was a major driver of exploration. Spices like pepper, cinnamon, and cloves were highly prized in Europe for their ability to preserve food and add flavor. The Portuguese established a dominant presence in the Indian Ocean, controlling the spice trade by force. They built a network of forts and trading posts from Africa to India and beyond, ensuring their monopoly. Interesting fact: the profit margins on spices were astronomical. Pepper bought in India could be sold in Europe for several times its purchase price. Portuguese traders were the first Europeans to reach Japan, arriving in 1543 and beginning a period of cultural and technological exchange. The Portuguese weren't just trading spices, they were also spreading their influence and culture. The establishment of trading posts and forts along the African coast and in India allowed them to control the flow of goods and enforce their dominance. This period saw the blending of cultures with the exchange of ideas, technologies, and even cuisines. Interesting fact: the Portuguese introduced new crops to India, such as cashew nuts and pineapples, which are now integral to Indian agriculture. In Japan, the Portuguese introduced firearms, which significantly altered Japanese warfare and led to the unification of Japan under the Tokugawa shogunate. The Age of Exploration triggered the Columbian Exchange, a massive transfer of plants, animals, people, and diseases between the New and Old worlds. This exchange had profound effects on the global population and ecosystems. Europe received crops like potatoes, tomatoes, and corn, which became staple foods. In return, the Americas were introduced to horses, cattle, and sugarcane. Interesting fact: before the Columbian Exchange, there were no tomatoes in Italy, no potatoes in Ireland, and no horses in the Americas. The introduction of Old World diseases to the New World had devastating effects on indigenous populations, with smallpox alone killing millions. The Columbian Exchange wasn't just about food, it also involved a significant movement of people. European colonization led to the forced migration of African slaves to the Americas, profoundly impacting the demographic and cultural landscape of the New World. This period also saw the introduction of new technologies and agricultural practices that transformed societies on both sides of the Atlantic. Interesting fact: the introduction of the horse transformed the lifestyle of many Native American tribes, particularly on the Great Plains, where they became skilled horsemen and hunters. The exchange of crops like maize and potatoes significantly boosted European population growth, which had far-reaching economic and social effects. Ferdinand Magellan, a Portuguese explorer serving Spain, embarked on the first circumnavigation of the globe in 1519. Although Magellan himself was killed in the Philippines, his expedition, led by Juan Sebastian Elcano, completed the journey in 1522, proving that the Earth was round and much larger than previously thought. Interesting fact: Magellan's fleet started with 5 ships and about 270 men. Only 1 ship and 18 men completed the journey. Magellan's voyage provided the first direct evidence that the Americas were separate from Asia, leading to a new understanding of global geography. Magellan's journey wasn't just a geographical triumph, it also had significant scientific implications. The expedition provided valuable data on ocean currents, wind patterns, and the size and shape of the Earth. It also demonstrated the practical challenges of long-distance sea travel, including scurvy, which decimated Magellan's crew. Interesting fact: the Strait of Magellan, the navigable sea route in southern Chile, is named after him, marking his path through the treacherous waters at the southern tip of South America. The Victoria, the only surviving ship of Magellan's fleet, was laden with spices upon its return, covering the expedition's costs and proving the profitability of such voyages. The English and French explorations. England and France joined the race for exploration in the late 16th century. John Cabot, an Italian navigator sailing for England, reached the coast of North America in 1497, while Jacques Cartier explored the St. Lawrence River for France in the 1530s, laying the groundwork for French claims in Canada. Interesting fact: the English explorer Sir Francis Drake was the second person to circumnavigate the globe, completing his journey in 1580. Jacques Cartier's expeditions opened up the interior of North America to French exploration and fur trading. Drake's circumnavigation showcased the emerging English naval prowess and marked England's growing ambitions on the global stage. Meanwhile, Cartier's voyages were instrumental in mapping the Gulf of St. Lawrence and claiming Canada for France, establishing a legacy of French influence in North America. Another interesting fact: Sir Francis Drake's ship, the Golden Hind, was originally named Pelican but was renamed mid-voyage. and during his second voyage, Jacques Cartier erected a 10-meter wooden cross on the Gaspe Peninsula, claiming the land for France. The Dutch Golden Age. The VOC's success was not just due to its commercial acumen, but also its military might. The company maintained its own army and navy to protect its interests and assert control over territories. This combination of economic and military power made the VOC a dominant force in global trade during the 17th century. An interesting fact, the VOC's fleet at its height was larger than some national navies, with hundreds of ships under its command. And another fascinating fact, the company's headquarters in Amsterdam became the financial center of Europe, facilitating international trade and investment. Cultural exchanges and consequences. The age of exploration was not just about discovery, it was also about cultural exchange. Europeans encountered new civilizations and ways of life, leading to significant cultural and intellectual exchanges. However, this period also marked the beginning of colonization and exploitation of native populations, with lasting impacts that are still felt today. Interesting fact, the Aztec and Inca empires, two of the most powerful civilizations in the Americas, were conquered by Spanish explorers Hernán Cortés and Francisco Pizarro, respectively. The influx of precious metals from the New World led to the price revolution in Europe, causing widespread economic changes. The cultural exchange was a two-way street. While Europeans introduced new technologies and domesticated animals to the New World, they also adopted many indigenous practices and foods. This blending of cultures enriched societies on both sides of the Atlantic, but also led to significant conflicts and transformations. Interesting fact, the introduction of European goods such as metal tools and weapons had a profound impact on indigenous societies, altering their way of life and social structures. The European colonization efforts led to the spread of Christianity, with missionaries playing a key role in converting indigenous populations. The scientific and technological advancements. The age of exploration was closely tied to scientific and technological advancements. Innovations in navigation, shipbuilding, and cartography were crucial in enabling long-distance sea voyages. The era also saw the rise of new scientific instruments and methods that would lay the groundwork for the scientific revolution. Interesting fact, the invention of the astrolabe and improvements in the magnetic compass were critical in helping sailors determine their latitude while at sea. The period also saw significant advancements in cartography, with more accurate maps and sea charts being produced, which were essential for navigation. These technological advances were not limited to Europe. Interactions with other cultures introduced Europeans to new knowledge and techniques. For example, Arab and Chinese navigational tools and methods were adopted and refined, enhancing European maritime capabilities. Interesting fact, the printing press, invented by Johannes Gutenberg in the mid-15th century, played a significant role in spreading new knowledge and discoveries quickly across Europe. The Mercator projection, developed by Gerardus Mercator in 1569, revolutionized map-making by allowing sailors to plot straight-line courses. The New World economies. The discovery of the New World led to the establishment of new economic systems and trade networks. The extraction of resources such as gold and silver and the establishment of plantations for crops like sugar, tobacco, and cotton created vast wealth for European nations and fueled the growth of global trade. Interesting fact, the Spanish Empire's wealth from New World silver mines, particularly those at Potosi, dramatically increased the European money supply, contributing to economic growth and inflation. The transatlantic slave trade became an integral part of the New World economy, with millions of Africans forcibly transported to work on plantations. These new economies were based on exploitation and had long-lasting social and economic impacts. The slave trade in particular had devastating effects on African societies, while the wealth generated from the Americas helped to fund European imperial ambitions and industrialization. Interesting fact. The triangular trade route connected Europe, Africa, and the Americas, creating a complex network of commerce and exploitation. The sugar industry, driven by slave labor, became one of the most profitable sectors in the New World, with Caribbean islands becoming major centers of sugar production. Conclusion. The Age of Exploration was a time of great adventure and profound change. It expanded the horizons of human knowledge, connected distant continents, and laid the foundations for the modern world. As we reflect on this era, we should appreciate the courage and curiosity of those early explorers while also acknowledging the complex legacy they left behind. To delve deeper into these fascinating stories, subscribe to Zane Facts channel and join us on our journey to uncover the hidden gems of history. Don't forget to like, comment, and share your thoughts on our latest videos.